In this video, we're going to understand node versions, all of these different node versions that we have available, and just try to get a better sense about all of them. And also we're going to learn NVM and see how we can use it to easily switch our node version at any time. So let's get into it. Now, when you go to the Node.js website, so let's go to the website nodejs.org. And when you try to download it, you will see two different versions. One is the LTS version and the other one is the current version. The LTS here stands for long-term support, as we said in the setup video. And for your production applications, you should always stick with the LTS version of Node.js. So Node is constantly evolving and they keep pushing new versions out. You could always try the current versions for trying the latest features in Node. But again, for production, please always stay with the LTS version. The LTS versions are even numbered. For example, 20, the next LTS version of Node will be version 22. The previous one was version 18. And also, if you want to see which ones are supported until when, you can here go into the release schedule. You can also go there by going into About section right here and then go into previous releases. So the link should be there. If the website changes, please do a Google search on just releases Node.js and go to the official website. And here you can see this thing that is showing all these different Node.js versions and also the timeline for which they are being supported. For example, right now, Node.js version 20, it is right now active. It's the current active LTS version, and it will be supported until around April 2026. The next LTS version is going to be again version 22. Again, the LTS versions are even numbered. It will be published in April 2024, and it will be supported for many more years to come. It's probably after July 2026, but it's not shown right here. Now, if you're using version 18 in your project, you're still good to go, but you will be good to go until April 2025. And after April 2025, you should think about maybe migrating to Node.js version 20 or version 24 or whatever else the current version at that time is. Here we can learn more about how long these are supported. The current releases are being supported for about 6 months. And the LTS versions are being supported for 30 months, which is more than 2 years. So if you are building a project with the latest LTS version of Node, it will be supported for a few years. And it says that it guarantees that the critical bugs will be fixed for this duration of 30 months. And also production applications should only use active LTS or maintenance LTS releases. And here's also another link that you can go into to read more about the versions. And if you scroll down more, you can see that here we've got some more things. You can see that the LTS versions also have a name from the periodic table. Current version, version 20, is iron. The previous LTS version, version 18, hydrogen, gallium, and a few more. Your carbon. Okay, so that's it about a quick overview of Node.js versions. Again, if you are currently using one of these Node.js versions for your project, you should come here and see how long it's being supported and when it's a good time to make a switch to the new version of Node. Now let's talk about NVM. We installed NVM in the setup video. Now if you did not install NVM from the setup videos, it's fine. You could now skip this video and move on to the next one. But right now, let's go ahead and try to use NVM and see how easily it is to switch Node versions back and forth between all these ones. Because as you can see, we're getting a lot of releases and it will be really important to be able to easily switch back and forth between them. So I'm going to pull up my terminal right here. So we've gone ahead in the setup videos and we installed NVM, so we should have access to the NVM command. So we should be able to say nvm-v and get a version back. Now let's talk about a few of the commands that we have available using NVM. The first one is nvm ls. And when you run this, it's going to tell you all the versions that you have already installed and also the list of the latest versions of all the LTS versions. If you're on Windows, you can do the same thing by running nvm and then list, and it will show you the list of all the Node versions that you have already installed on your machine. Here you can see at the top that it says that I have installed these versions and my default version is version 20. So all of these are installed on my machine and I can go ahead and take a look at them. If I run this command, which is called which node, and I go into the NVM folder, so I'm going to open up the NVM folder in my Finder like this. So here's the NVM folder. Here all the files related to NVM and Node are saved in this folder. And if I go into versions and then Node, here I can see all these different versions that I have already installed. And you can see again that all these versions are also being displayed here. The oldest version that I have installed is version 16.16.0. It's right here. And the latest version that I have installed is version 20.4.0, which is right here. And also it's being displayed right here. Now these other versions that start with this yellow color, they are again the LTS versions, starting with the first one, which was version 4, and the latest one, version 20, which is Iron. Now let's go ahead and see how we can install one of these versions. So let's say that we want to install maybe Fermium. Now Fermium right now, or Node.js version 14, is not being supported, and if we go back here, version 14, it's not even shown here, so we should try to stay away from using it in production. But let's say that you have a piece of code, you have a project from ages ago, and it's using version 14, and you just want to run it quickly and see how things are working. We can easily do that. Again, I don't have the version 14 installed right now, so we can install a new version of Node by just running NVM install and then specifying a version. We can either specify a complete version, for example 14.21.3, or we can just simply say 14. And what's going to happen is that it's going to automatically figure out what is the latest version that starts with that number, in this case this version, and it's going to install that version on my machine. So let's wait for this to finish. Alright, it's now done, and by now I should have Node.js version 14 installed. So if I now run NVM ls again, you can see here that now I have Node version 14, and also I am using this version. So if I run node-v, I'll see that I'm using Node version 14. And here back in my Finder, here you can see that now I also have another folder, which is now for my Node version 14. It's also important to know that each one of these have their own NPM version. For example, right here, I have NPM version 6, and if I switch to another one of these, I will also change my npm version. So if I install a package right here globally, so if I say npm install and then -g for global, if I install a global package like this, it will only be available in that current Node version. So if I later on change my Node version, I will no longer have that npm package, and I have to again install it so that it will be installed for that particular version as well. Now, if you want to switch to any one of these versions that you already have installed, you can use the NVM use command to do just that. So I can say NVM use and then 16, and now I will be using Node version 16. So if I run node-v, I'm now using Node version 16, and also my npm version has changed as well. Now, there's something else that we have to understand, and that's the default version here in NVM ls. You can see that my default version is version 20, which means that if I close this terminal session, or if I open up a new tab, now if I run node-v again, now I'm using version 20. Even though I used NVM use here to change my Node version to version 16, if I open up a new session, or if I just close my terminal and open it up again, it will be defaulted back to the default version. If I want to change this, if I want to say that always stick with version 14, which, well, it doesn't really make sense to do it right now because version 14 is outdated, but if I just wanted to do it, I can say nvm alias default, and now whatever version I specify here is going to be my default Node version, which in this case is now 14. So if I now go ahead and open up a new terminal tab and run node-v, now I will be always using Node version 14 for as long as I keep it that way, and I can just change it at any time by running nvm alias default and then whatever version that I want to specify to be my default version. Now we can also quickly upgrade your Node version. For example, right now I'm using version 20.4.0, but the latest version is 20.9.0. So we could get the whole list of all the versions that we have available in NVM by running nvm ls-remote. Now here we can see the whole list of all these versions that we have, and there are a lot. The latest version of Node, Iron, is 20.9.0. My current version right now is 20.4. You can see that the installed versions are specified with this blue color, and you can keep scrolling to see the whole list of all these versions that we have available. Version 16, you can also see that the LTS versions are being marked. So if you scroll all the way up, you can see that the first LTS version, which was 4, is right here, which is Argon. And if I just keep scrolling up, you can see all these different versions that we also had before the first LTS version, and you can also install these ones if you want. Alright, so let's go ahead and install the latest version. So I'm going to say NVM install. Let's specify the whole version, which is 20.9.0. And now it's installed. It was pretty fast. With this in place, I can now go ahead and uninstall my previous version. So I can say NVM uninstall version 20.4.0. And if I run it, now I no longer have that version. So now it's like as if I upgraded my node. So I can also set this to be my default version. So I can say NVM alias default and then 20.9.0. So now just like this, I am now using the latest version of Node. So this is how you can easily switch back and forth between these ones. If you have a code that only works on version 18, for example, this is how we can test it. You can also automate this. So let's say that I have two different projects. So let me go ahead and create one folder here on my desktop. I'm going to call it project and then -1. I'm also going to create another folder, and this one I'm going to name it project-2. So if I navigate over to my desktop, and if I ls all the folders that start with projects, so I'm just going to run ls project star, which means to match all the files that start with project and end with any possible character, any combination of characters. You can see that I have now these two folders on my desktop. So let's say that we have these two imaginary projects. Project 1 is using Node version 18 and Project 2 is using Node version 20. And we're currently working on these two projects, and we want to constantly switch back and forth between these two. We can do something nice in NVM so that every time we switch to each one of these projects, our Node version will automatically be updated to the version that that project is using. So let's see how we can do this. Now, if you're on Windows, this will not work. Unfortunately, on NVM Windows, this is not supported, but there are some ways to get it to work, but I'm not going to talk about them. You can Google it if you want. But if you're on Mac or Linux, this is how we can do it. So I'm going to go into project 1. So let's say that here we are using Node version 18. So I'm going to switch my Node version to version 18. So I'm just going to say NVM use 18. And it's going to switch me now over to 18.16.1. And now I'm using this version. So what I'm going to do is to create a file called NVMRC. Okay, so .nvmrc. And all we need to do is to just save this piece of text in that file, and that's it. So I'm going to open this up in my code editor like this. And I'm going to copy this text. And right here, I'm just going to paste it here in that file. Now I'm going to save this and close this. Now if I say cat.nvmrc, now that file has this data in it. So the command that we can use is nvm use, and just nvm use with nothing else in it. And as soon as I run it, you can see that it says found this config that is specifying that the Node version is 18.16.1. So it will now automatically switch me over to that one. So let's now go over to project 2. So cd project 2. And here, let's say that we will be using Node version 20. So what I'm going to do is to use NVM 20. So NVM use 20. And I'm just going to do these three things that I did. So node-v, but I'm going to use this one to say to grab the output and save it to a file called NVMRC. And now I have that exact same file. Well, I have to say ls-a because it's a hidden file, and here it is. And the content is that exact same thing, but now this time around, we're using Node version 20. So what we can do now is that, notice that now I'm using version 20. So let's say that now we want to move back to project 1. So cd project-1. Now here, I'm using version 20, but the project is using version 18. But if you want to always try to manually figure out what is the Node version that that project is using and then switch over to that, it could be too much work. We can just make use of the NVM use. As long as we have the .nvmrc, we're good to go. And now I am using Node version 18, as you can see right now. So I can quickly switch over back and forth between these two projects, and with just one command, NVM use, I can switch my node to use that one instead. And this could save us a lot of time and effort, and it's always good to have a specific version for each project and just stick with that. And then if you want to do upgrade, we will upgrade it. It's not really good to just use Node version 18, build your project on version 18, and then all of a sudden switch your node to version 20. Some things could break, and it's just not a good practice. It's just best to do it this way. So now if you want to upgrade your project to the new version, you'll just do it once, you'll see all the errors, you'll fix them, and that's it. Alright, so that's it about NVM and all these node versions that we have. Hopefully now you know how to use NVM and have a better idea about these different node versions that we have. Okay, so that's it about this video, and I will see you in the next one.